Hi, everyone. Welcome to our junior info night. We're glad you are here, and we're going to be recording this. So for anyone who trickles in, know that anything you miss, we'll cover it, and you will be able to hear it from us. So if you don't know us yet, we are the College and Career Counselors for Baker. My name's Allison Steife. I serve Central Oregon, Eastern Oregon, and Southern Oregon.
Hi, I'm Jen Tracewell, and I serve Baker Web Academy for your college and career needs, and for Baker Early College, the Portland, Eugene, and Salem corridor.
Yeah. So welcome. We'll share our contact info at the end if you are hoping to get it. And welcome to the Zoom room. If you haven't done Zoom before, just know that for this call, we're going to keep everyone muted except for ourselves. It's not because we don't want to hear from you. It's just for the sake of noise reduction. So we're not hearing any background noise, but we do want to hear your questions if you have them. So if you do have a question, you have some options. You can post it in our chat box. Jen has our chat box pulled up, so if you have questions along the way, we'll hopefully be able to see them, and we'll also save some time at the end to look at your questions there. If you don't want to post in the chat box, that's totally fine. You can send us an email. You could even schedule an appointment with us if you have something kind of in depth that you want to talk about. So
Look down there for the chat box. So go to the bottom of your Zoom room if you're not really familiar with this platform, and a little chat bubble should pop up for you. And at the very end, we are, you're free to do some Q&A at the very end if you want to actually talk back and forth with a few questions at the end of our session.
Yeah. So what we're going to talk about tonight are what we as college and career counselors find to be the top 5 things that juniors could be thinking about right now and doing in order to prepare for a really exciting next step in their lives, whether that's going to college or starting a career or a combo of both. So the 5 things we're going to cover tonight, it's going to be a lot, but it's going to be good. So we're going to talk about exploring careers and interests, finding your college fit, taking those ever important entrance exams, preparing your application elements. It's not too early, I promise, and also applying for financial aid. So those are the things we'll cover tonight. And Jen is going to start us off with the first one.
Okay, fantastic, which is exploring your interests and careers. And Allison found this, great little quote on a podcast she was listening to that was, "What do you want to study? And how would I know that based on how you spend your time?" So kind of the point was, if you have an idea in your head that, I'd like to study, go into the medical field or be a vet, like if you want to be a vet, do you love animals? Like, do you spend time with animals, or have you ever done any volunteer work at the Humane Society? Yeah, it's just a really good point to make, that what you're doing with your free time probably shows what your priorities are. And it's like that with all areas of life, and this is just one of them. So I'll tackle a couple of the areas we mentioned in depth. So extracurriculars is, it's something that's kind of overlooked in our virtual environment, because we don't have everything like right there in a school building where you would normally sign up for your clubs and, just be more community based. We're trying really hard to make that a possibility for you guys by continually, providing resources and reminding you, hey, this is actually really important, and colleges think this is important because it shows the bigger picture of who you are as an individual. So with the extracurriculars, that's going to be more on you having to seek out than a school necessarily having it right on campus. So find some clubs, find some activities. Lots of you already do that. You might do 4-H or Girl Scouts, or depending on what your age. I actually have a teenage daughter who did Girl Scouts up through like age 16.
It's legit.
It is, and the scholarships that they give are incredible. And then don't overlook the volunteering aspect. That is, I have seen that grow from this minor part of your application, whether it be a college app or a scholarship app, to be kind of a central point. Like organizations, colleges, committees, they're really wanting to see what you've done to give back to your community. Because again, that shows where your priorities are. What are you doing with that time? So a quick little high school volunteer guide that we put together had a few tips for you for how to choose an organization. And you have this link. We'll be sending out this slideshow. Is I think Allison.
It'll be on our blog.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. We're going to plug our blog all night long because there's so much good stuff on it. So that's where this is. I won't spend a lot of time on this little guide, but I wanted to make sure that you find it because I picked what I felt like was the one best resource for every region of the state. So no matter if you're coming to us from Portland or Central Oregon or somewhere on the coast, I picked an organization that I know something about or that we've worked with in the past that would be a really good place to start to look for volunteerism. So there's the extracurricular piece. The internship part of, the exploring careers and interests. Again, we rely heavily on community-based organizations and businesses that because we serve the whole state, this gets a little tricky. If you happen to live here in Central Oregon like us, we know exactly where you should go. Youth Career Connect is a great organization, and I highlighted that link on this page right here. But the other two resources on here, the career guide and then the CHEG internship website, those are more global. No matter where you live in the state, you can go here. Our college and career folks, Rob Williams and Shelley Penny, put this together a couple of years ago, and it is an incredible resource, region by region, to find industries or companies that you could potentially either job shadow or internship with, depending on your area of interest. So you'll see it's broken down by, healthcare, STEM, hospitality, business, etc. So don't forget to check out that section of our blog. And then the CHEG internship site I wanted to point out because it's kind of a newer resource that we've discovered where you can search for high school internships in your location. Now, if you're in, the tiny town of, I don't know, Glade, Oregon or something, it'll be a little more difficult. Okay, so these are going to be more metro areas, maybe Portland, Eugene, Salem. There are some Bend, Oregon ones in here. So that's becoming a bigger metro area. So put in your location and you can do some filters as you see there on the right-hand side, and it'll start coming up with some ideas for you. Summer internships. And right now you probably are, just time-wise, we're in spring. The internships or jobs you're looking for are going to be for your summer. So you need to start that process right now, not in the summer. So think ahead on that. And career, or the Oregon CIS is another resource to share with you for finding careers that align with your interests and figuring out they have sorters that you can figure out what are my interests and my skills and where's that intersection that's going to kind of help me figure out what career would best suit who I am and align with my work values. So we invite you to go to Oregon CIS with this username and password. It's a free resource and you will not believe the power of this tool. So go to Oregon CIS, log in with the username of Baker Web Academy, password BWA12345. And I won't dive too deep into it with you. Because
is there a favorite kind of tool on there, an assessment or something, if they were to do one thing on Oregon CIS?
Yeah, I would recommend doing the short interest profiler and the skills. So if you could only pick two, I would do those two. I think the workplace value one is, for where you're at in high school, is sort of a lesser concern at the moment. I think the biggest thing high school kids need to do is really focus on what am I naturally good at and what interests do I have that might align with that. if you like really want to be an artist, but you have like really no artistic talent, not to be rude, but that is like something that like you kind of have it or you don't. I can't
Totally.
draw like any amount of lessons. I will not be very good at that. So
Totally.
as much as I like that, it's not a natural skill. That's not always the case. Some skills can be developed. So don't take that the wrong way, but you get where I'm going. So I would say do those two things for sure.
Yeah, I love that. Finding the combo of, and I like what you said, like where do they intersect?
For sure.
I love musical theater. No one wants to see me sing and dance on stage. But if I also like, kind of the technical aspects, if I have skills and technical aspects, then maybe I run lights for Broadway,
Exactly.
So where do they, how can I use my skills?
Yeah. Design the costumes that the people who do the dancing and singing
so that no one has to see me sing and dance. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So that website is super intuitive. They did an overhaul this year, so just click right there, set up your profile, and run with it. And then the apprenticeship part of this. So for those of you who are here tonight and you already know college is not in the cards for me for a number of reasons. Maybe I typically hear kids say, I just hate school. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Not everybody loves it. And you don't need to be embarrassed about that at all, because you would not believe the apprenticeships that are out there that earn as much as a pretty high level college degree. So if this is the pathway that you're on, I want you to check out this trades locator and find a trade. Maybe you go to Oregon CIS first and get a good idea of how your skills and interests intersect and come up with an idea. Go through this whole list, click on any one of them, and it will take you right into another website that's run by the Bureau of Labor and Industry, and it will tell you, here's how you do a glazier job. Here's the job description. These people install glass, mirrors, windows, aluminum doors, and it'll give you wage information, the on-the-job training, and a contact information for how you talk to the right apprenticeship committee to get into this job. So I absolutely love the apprenticeship idea. It's actually slightly different than what we would call a trade school. And I'm going to do a whole post about that another time. I've been, mulling over helping kids understand the difference between those two, because they can end you up at the same place, but there are some significant differences along the way. So I won't get deep into that, but definitely check out our trade locator. Earn money right after school while you learn a trade. And that's very appealing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are some of our favorite kind of exploration resources for interests, careers, but also think outside the box too. What classes can you take to explore your interests? And, what else could you do? Could you job shadow somebody? You have options. But no matter what you do, we strongly encourage that you are very intentionally, before you move on to this second step, engaging in that first step of exploring, what do I like to do? How do I use my skills? What jobs are out there? And if you find a job you're excited about and it requires a college degree, then here is step number 2. We would hate for you to, kind of go through the motions, say, I'm just going to go to college because that's what you do when you're done with high school, and just choose a major because it sounds good. And then only to find that that major doesn't lead to careers that you are truly interested in. So don't put the cart before the horse. And if you really want help diving into that first step and figuring it out, we love to do that with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to make a quick point back on the Oregon CIS, because I'll forget to say this again at the end. If you are currently in a capstone class and you're in BWA, you've already done the Oregon CIS process. And Colton was just asking, is that the same thing? It absolutely is. So that's kind of an advantage for our Web Academy kids, is that they already get to do that. So anyway, back to the college issue with
for our early college students, you don't take the capstone course of the BWA students, but you can take a college and career class up at your community college likely, and they will have similar resources for you as Oregon CIS. So
Absolutely.
slightly different path, but you also get to use both. So any Baker student can use that login that we have for you and
for sure
have fun with it. So.
ASVAB does the same thing, by the way. I forgot to even put that in here, but ASVAB also, a few of our Baker kids took it when we offered it in Portland and Bend, and it does the same type of skills assessment and kind of spits out a lot of data on what career would best fit you. So
yeah, there's all sorts of ways to start finding what you might do. And there are all sorts of ways to then find where to go to get that education to make it happen. So the first one that I want to share with you is Big Future. So Big Future is run by College Board. They are the people who run your SAT for you if you are an SAT taker or are going to take that test. So they've been in the college world for a long time. They know what's up. And they have this awesome tool that helps you narrow down colleges by all sorts of filters and factors. So here's what their website looks like. It has tons of resources other than just finding your college, but for tonight's purposes, I'm just going to show you this one. So you could enter the college name if you've like heard of a school and you want to know more about it. You can absolutely search for it. If you just want to kind of start from scratch and say, I don't know where I want to go. I don't know what's out there, because good grief, there's thousands of schools out there. And I haven't heard of plenty of them. So I guarantee you haven't heard of plenty of them. And some of them might be a good fit for you. So here's what this tool looks like. Off to the left-hand side, you see all these filter areas, like the type of school, where it's at, what the campus life is like, what kind of majors they offer. So you can go from, so it starts with 3,600 plus schools, and you can just kind of pick a few things that you know you want in a school. Like if you know you want to stay on the West Coast or at least the Southwest, somewhere in that region, and you know that you want to go to a 4-year school and you want to go to a big school where like you can get in on the giant football games and all those opportunities. If you know your major, and maybe that major is business, then you can find, look, they have all sorts of specific options, but if you're just going for general business, put that in there. Let's say you know that there's a fraternity or sorority that you would like to join. You want to be part of Greek life and the volunteer opportunities there and the networking opportunities through Greek life. Then you can choose that. So as you can see, just with a few kind of simple criteria, where you want to go, kind of what you want to be involved in, what major you want. We went from, what was it,
3,694
to 17. So it really does a good job of narrowing it down for you. And so feel free to use this resource to really kind of hone in your college list. You can click on any of these schools and learn a little bit more about them. And you can even visit their website. And if you do all that and you feel like, hey, I like this school, I could see, yeah, potentially this being a thing, you can click on a button up here that says Add College, and it's going to save all of it for you if you have an account through the College Board. So that's one of my favorite ways to at least start the process of finding your school. Once you have this list of schools, a really cool next step is to use Overgrad, is what it's called. And the way you access Overgrad is actually through your email. You should have an email if you are an early college student that says something along the lines of your Overgrad account is waiting for you to activate it. So if you just search in your email for Overgrad, you should have an invitation.
Unless you're a Web Academy student,
Yeah.
and that will be coming soon-ish. So Web Academy is coming. It's not currently probably available to you unless your specific counselor added you, but don't worry, we did not forget about you. So you guys won't have an email yet, but it will be coming.
Yes. Yep. And so it's an awesome resource. I'll show you just a little bit of what it looks like. This is just kind of a demo that you can see a fake student's info on. And what you'll do is you'll input things like your GPA, what kind of classes you're taking or plan to take, your SAT or ACT scores, and then any colleges you're interested in. And if you want, you can also use Overgrad really similarly as the Big Future search. And if you click Add University, you can either type it in because you know what it is, or you can do, a really similar search option where you narrow it down by different categories. The fun thing is Overgrad, you might type in or plug in the same exact criteria you did in Big Future, and it will give you different options just because they sort it out a little bit differently. And so
got it. So Allison, you are sharing two really cool resources, Big Future and Overgrad, that do some of the same functions. Do you still recommend kids do both? And if so, why? And should they like do one before the other?
Yeah. So I like to start with the Big Future resource just because it's really visual. You can get pictures of the schools and really easy links to their website. And you can also become eligible for a scholarship if you create a list. If you have an account and you create your college list on Big Future, College Board rewards that by throwing you into a lottery for potential scholarships.
Just for filling it out, like
just for clicking on some buttons to add it to your college list. So
do it.
Why not, right? But let's say you do really like this Boise State option, and you do want it in your in your official list. So you would come in here and search for it. I'm already following it because it looked like a cool option. So once you have all your schools plugged in to your Overgrad account, and you go into view your colleges, it's going to give you an idea of your chances of admissions. So is it a reach school? Is it kind of well within what they would call likely? Or some schools might be more of like a safety option, like looking real good. What I really appreciate about Overgrad is it breaks it down even further for you. So you can get an idea of which areas do you really want to improve or need to improve in order to increase your chances of admissions.
Got it. So Monique really should retake her SAT, you guys.
Yes.
If she wants to go to Notre Dame, she better retake it.
Yes, absolutely. And if she is, really interested in Florida Gulf Coast, she's looking good in a lot of areas, but her GPA compared to the average admitted student at Florida Gulf Coast is a little low. According to Overgrad, that area needs some improvement. So this way you can start setting some goals for yourself. For in the next year, what do you really want to work on? Or shorter than that, right? If you're going to apply in the fall, do you want to retake your tests? Do you want to plot out kind of what GPA you need and how to get there? So this is something too that your counselors have access to. And so they can work with you and see this right alongside you to help guide you toward where you want to go.
Yeah, and Overgrad, I think, as you just said, does kind of a better job of getting those categories of reach schools versus match schools and letting you know what you need to work on.
Yeah. So strongly encourage you to use that. You can also use it to track your application progress as you're moving along. It does all sorts of really wonderful things.
Fantastic.
And another cool opportunity, because we live in the year 2020, is that you can see a lot of college campuses from the comfort of your own home. So UVisit is one of our favorites. And you can search for a school, kind of click on the ones too. If you've ever wondered what Harvard looks like, you can just browse the school.
Yeah,
And
since they're closed right now.
exactly. So what a time, what a time to be able to see some college campuses
Absolutely.
from your house, because it's looking like a lot of them, because of COVID-19, are going to be closed for the remainder of the school year.
Sadly,
Yeah.
it's impacting hundreds of thousands of college kids. So
if we happen to move through COVID-19 quickly and smoothly, though, as a country and schools hang on and reopen, then we do want to encourage you to check out preview days. Some of these might get canceled, but for those that aren't, and it feels like a good, safe opportunity, you might hear these called open house days or visit days. You'll see postcards probably about them in your mailbox or emails about them in your inbox. This is such a great opportunity to not just see pictures of the campus, or even just do like a tour of the campus if you were to visit. You actually get to experience what it would be like to be a student there. Some of them allow you to stay in the dorms and eat in the cafeteria and go to classes and really get a sense of what would my life be like as a student in this school. And so
highly recommend.
Yes, if you feel like it's outside of your reach financially, reach out to the school. You never know.
And you might be surprised at what things you find important at a preview day. I went to one at Boise State about a month ago with my junior daughter. And out of everybody in the room on preview day, the most asked question was about, okay, take a guess. It shocked me. The meal plan. Everybody wanted to know about the cafeteria and the meal plan. I was expecting more academic questions, but so you never know what's going to strike you as like a high value.
How good is the food? You get to go eat it and find out. I mean, you are going to eat a lot of those meals over the course of a few years of college. So
it was really funny.
That's cute. We all value different things.
Yes.
So, but yeah, reach out to the school if you're feeling like you're not sure if it's possible. Some have programs that will even fly you out for their preview days. It's beyond driving distance. So never say never. Never hurts to ask.
Absolutely.
So those are some of our favorite resources for exploring a good college fit for you.
Okay, fantastic. And then taking entrance exams. Even though we are seeing more and more colleges go to what's called test optional, where it's not mandatory to have an ACT or SAT score, there are enough of them left. There's still kind of a majority that require it, and it's also really important for a lot of scholarships. So we encourage you, even if you think your top school doesn't require it, keep your options open and have more doorways you can walk through by just taking it and taking it seriously. So we want to talk a little bit about the ACT, SAT, 3 simple steps to get you through this. So first of all, choose a test and register. And we have a fun little quiz that you can take a look at. And yeah, go ahead and click on that. This little quiz is at a fun website called Magoosh. It's got a crazy name, but it is a legit website. I use it all the time. It is full of some of the best college career advice around. So it's a 10-question quiz, and it actually is fairly accurate. Well, in my personal experience, one of my daughters took it. It said, according to this little quiz, you should perform better on the ACT. And in fact, she did. She's one of those students who decided to take both. And while we don't recommend that you take both, it is possible, and you may have reasons that you want to do that. But in general, pick one, stick with it, take it more than once.
Yeah.
Really, the odds of improving are over 90% improvement. I mean, over a 90% chance of improvement on your second attempt. And juniors, you should be taking this now. Not like today now, but in the spring of your junior year. So I'll show you a test window in just a minute for getting the registration deadline and when that test would be. But before I get to that, I want to talk about how you're going to study for this and the importance of creating a study plan and sticking to it. And there are many resources out there. Maybe some of you have the financial resources to sign up for, a test in your community, or a lot of the local colleges will run one. But these two resources are free, and they are run, they're aligned directly to the test. Like Khan Academy and the SAT College Board, they actually work together. And so you can be really confident that everything that Khan Academy is directing you to do is accurate to the test. And same with ACT Academy, it's run by that same company. So I would stick with those if you're going to look for an online resource. Don't go there, you'll find 1,000 things out there. We have vetted the top 2 for you for a reason. Mm-hmm. And also the fact that we value cost and keeping that down for you. So the cool thing about both of these is that they customize and adapt the study plan for you. And so it'll take you through some, initial assessments, and it'll identify your weak areas, your strong areas. So make sure you pay attention to that. Please take that study plan seriously, because it has a huge impact. Research shows it will absolutely increase your score, hands down. Don't ever go into an SAT or ACT cold, so to speak. Colleges will want to see that score, and while they can use super scoring, where they take the highest of each category, and let's say if you did better on the math the first time and better on the English the second time, they would just take the best of each. So that's really cool, and it gives you a little bit of a safety net there if you studied more for one section than the next time. But really, the reason we were talking earlier about why you really want to do your best and not just decide, oh, I'm just going to take it and see how I do and see if I need to study. The first time you take it, you're allowed to choose the colleges that you want it sent to, a certain number of them for free, and getting that done right away versus having to pay later. It's kind of a tricky thing they do. If you want to add a college later, you're going to have to pay for it. And really, we're all about free. Like, we like free stuff for you guys. So sign up, pick the top schools that you'd like those scores sent to, because you can't send scores on your own to ACT or to your college. They have to come directly from this or whichever organization, ACT or SAT. So there you go. Check out the study plans, and then take the exam and follow up accordingly. Following up means, ensuring that your scores go to your college, ensuring that you retake it if you feel like you need to, or if you want to beef up just a certain area. And I think ACT does have something new happening in the fall where they do let you, this is actually like earth-shattering, this has never happened before, where they will let you retake just one category of the test. That is, no one has ever let us do this before. ACT still isn't or SAT still isn't letting you do this. You have to take the whole thing again. So this is kind of like, might nudge you into the ACT category, to be honest, if you know that, like, I only want to do the math over again. I don't want to do the whole thing. And that's a new change coming down the pipe. So that's pretty cool. Here is the test schedule. And the April 4th one, guess what? Tomorrow is the last day to late register if you desperately want to take it by April 4th. If you're an early grad or something crazy like that, we don't recommend that you take it on April 4th, just because that doesn't give you enough time to study. But if there's a reason that we don't know about that makes sense for you, tomorrow is your last day to squeeze into the April test. Other than that, May and June are your dates. So please talk to your families, moms, dads, whoever is gonna, get you there, pay for this, get this on the calendar. We do have some fee waivers available for students who are on free or reduced lunch. And Stormy Shannon is our staff person who you need to email and ask for a fee waiver. So maybe put in the subject line of your email to Stormy, SAT fee waiver or ACT fee waiver, and put in your request. Tell her the reason, Stormy, I qualify for free and reduced lunch, or maybe you had a fee waiver in the past. And so yeah, take care of that with Stormy, because if that's a barrier, we don't want that to be a barrier. We want you to be able to get these tests taken, because that's going to open up a lot of doors for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Anything to add to that?
I don't think so. Just
Okay.
get on it. Spring break is coming, and what a wonderful time to, as you set your final exams aside or whatever, to pick this up and start wrapping your mind around it and exploring those study tools, getting your footing.
Such a great time to just get that study schedule kind of rolling over spring break, so that when you go back to school, you're like, oh, I've got so much homework. You've already kind of established a new plan. And that's very cool.
Yes. Okay, we're already on number 4 out of the 5, so we're getting there. If your brains feel like they're exploding from all of the resources and information we're sharing, it's okay. You're going to get all of this info if you weren't here at the beginning. So we're going to send you our slides. We're going to send you this recording. You can play it all again and click on these links and explore them for yourself. So
absolutely. We understand that we packed a lot in here.
Yes. So take a deep breath. Don't stress. I know we're giving you a lot of to-dos, but they're all fun, right? And good. This is your future we're talking about. So how exciting. So number 4, we're going to talk about preparing your application elements. If you're like, I don't have the application yet, it's not time. I hear ya. But there are still things you can do now and things you should do now to start gathering kind of the portfolio of your application. So
in case you forgot the timeline, because we send this out frequently throughout the year, but you start actually submitting your applications at the beginning of your senior year for most of you, if you're on a normal track. So that's why Allison's like, it seems really early, because you don't have to do this until next November 1st would be the very first application deadline, but you need to work on this right now.
Yeah. So 3 elements that I want to encourage you to be thinking about are your letters of rec, first of all. So make a list of who you want to ask. Think of teachers, coaches, mentors, maybe a supervisor at work, your Baker counselor is a great option if you've spent time with me and Jen, or you want to spend time with me and Jen plotting all this and planning all this, and we get to know you through this process. We would be happy to write you a letter too.
I've written a fair share of letters of rec already for many of our students this year. So
so we're happy to do that too. Just make sure the person knows you, and think of people who know you in a different capacity. Your teachers are going to know different things about you than your basketball coach, who's going to know different things about you than your employer. And so they'll all be able to speak about you in a different way and give this well-rounded picture of who is this student. So make that list, think through. If you are not sure and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I have no idea who to ask, I'm not close with any teachers,
start making an effort now to be really nice and reach out to
you have
teachers.
This is why we're doing this junior night now, and I'm talking about this now, is if you don't have a relationship with a teacher yet, you got 3 months 4 months to make that happen before June happens, which is when you're going to want to start asking for those letters. So if you're an early college student, go to some professor office hours. If you're a Web Academy student, you probably know your AT pretty well. So hopefully
advisory teachers are the greatest source for the Web Academy kids, for sure.
Yeah. And then once you know who you're going to ask, the next step would be completing something sometimes called a brag sheet, which is what it sounds like. It's kind of this list, this, it can be a letter, bullet points, a chart, whatever you want it to look like, that basically highlights all the great, wonderful things about you, your accomplishments, your best qualities. And this is something that you will give, as awkward as that might sound, to your letter writers.
Because normally we're telling people, don't talk about yourself, don't brag. Like your parents are always, adults in your life are always telling you, try not to be the center of attention. Well, this is the one time we give you permission to do this.
Yes. So you'll give it to them, and it's actually a really wonderful gift to the letter writer. They know you, they like you, they think you're great, but they might be writing like 30 of these at least, some of them. And so having a sheet in front of them that just reminds them instantly of who you are and what you're great at, and will just bring to mind what they might write about in their letter. And so we have some resources for you. Reach out if you want kind of a template for that, or even Google it. You'll find some good resources. And then once you have that put together, we encourage you to politely and very early on ask. So do this before summer break, and that will give them, so you can either ask at the very end of the school year and say, I would love to get this from you at the start of fall, or you can ask maybe in May and get it back in June before summer break happens. And look at that, you already have an element of your application done before you go on summer break.
Exactly. And that's really important too for students who maybe already know that, oh, I'm moving, maybe I'll be at a different school. So if you kind of have some background knowledge about what's happening in your personal life, that also is a good reason to ask maybe in May, so you have it before you leave.
Yeah. And I guarantee you, if you give them lots of time to write that letter, if you ask them early on, they will have much nicer things to say about you in their letter. And if you ask very politely, they will have much nicer things to say about you in their letters. So
very true.
Be kind, be gracious, and be grateful as you ask people. The other element, number 2, that I want to put on your radar is an activity resume. So Jen was talking about, maybe all these things that you're already either doing or are going to do before you submit those applications. And it's great to have them written down all in one spot. Some college applications are going to want a very just like this, a list of what you've done, how many hours you've spent doing it. Scholarships are definitely going to want some of that information if you do the OSAC application.
It's built right in to OSAC and the Common App and a lot of the other applications I see. That little chart kind of thing that Allison's going to show you, it's built right into their application.
So we encourage you to start this soon, just because it can take a lot of time. Think of all the activities you've done. Like maybe some of you since childhood have been playing the piano and have become an accomplished musician. And how many hours of your life have you spent on rehearsals and competitions, and maybe even giving lessons eventually to younger kids? And oh my gosh, it takes a while to calculate all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we want you just to be thinking about this and maybe slowly chipping away at what have you done? How much time have you spent on it? And I'll show you an example in a minute of what that might look like. Your essays are the third thing that I want to encourage you to think about. The really cool thing is you can, for a lot of applications, already see what the essays are going to be. The Common App just announced that when I plugged this link in, the same essay prompts are going to be here for the 2021 school year. So
perfect.
So we have links here for you to see examples of some really common prompts, and even some prompts that you're going to see on your applications for sure next year. So you can start writing those as soon as you want. And we encourage you to do that simply because this is its own skill. Writing a very they're usually very short, 100 to 250 words, and really packing as much as you can into those that word limit as possible, and telling a story or really grabbing the attention of the reader while also answering the prompt, because some of the prompts are long. So how do you do that in 250 words?
Right. Avoid cliches. I will just say, I've heard this advice over and over. A real common thing people will say is, I went on a missions trip and it changed my life. And
yes, I was more changed than the lives I went to change.
Okay, just don't say things like that. Not that we don't think that's true, but it will not really come across in the right way to that application committee.
Yes. And we have all sorts of tips like that in this link here, how to write a story that no one else can tell. That is our kind of resource for you on how to make those things as good as they can be.
Exactly. Yeah. So. And we're not devaluing those awesome mission experiences. If you're like, hey, I did that, I was going to write about that. You can, but you're going to have to be really careful about how you do it.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. just take a look at that, this post. It'll get
For
your
sure.
wheels turning
Mhm.
on how you want to do this and what it could look like for you. Here's an example of that activity chart or activity resume that we were talking about. So you can, write down the activity and the kind of activity it was, when did you do it, for how long, how many hours. This is where the math plays in. And then anything kind of within that role that was important, or any awards you won through that. So this is what it will look like. It might look longer than this, for some of you, for sure. Try to think of a well-rounded activity chart. Have a few jobs in there, or a few volunteer opportunities, or a few extracurriculars. Again, to show them you are well-rounded.
Yes. But not 20 things that you spent like 1 hour on each.
No.
Like it's better to be, what do they say? Don't be an inch deep and a mile wide, but be
Yes.
deeper and
Yes.
shorter. It does show a little more consistency and intention and passion for this thing. Like I'm not just trying to fill my resume up, I promise.
Yes.
Yeah.
True. Great point. Jen already talked about some awesome opportunities and resources for finding different things to get involved in, like volunteer work, and jobs and internships. We have a few here that she has talked about, and you just get to, have another look at some of these. I also included Indeed.com if you are hoping to get a job, not just an internship. You want to be in there for the long haul. If you go to a resource like Indeed.com, if you're under 18, you just type under 18 in the search bar, and you'll see a lot of options. So
Awesome.
don't rule yourself out just because you're young. There's so many things you can get involved in.
Fantastic. Okay, that was a lot. And for all of you that are possibly college bound, that's some really good info. This next section, financial aid, I think this is our last,
This is it.
Our last big section. So thank
Saving
you.
the best for last.
Oh,
we know you've all been really excited to talk about this part.
How do I afford college? Like, this is what the parents really want to know. All the parents are waiting for section number 5, actually. So you don't file your FAFSA until your senior year. It opens every October, and you need to file it as quickly as possible after October 1st of this next year. But what you could do right now, and Allison can show you our screen where I have a link for the FAFSA forecaster. That's the first thing that you can start doing right now. And it's actually really accurate. I've used this tool myself. I have one in college right now, another one, like I said, is a junior, and so I'll be doing this again. And you have to do the FAFSA every year, even after your kid is in college for the first time. So I am very intimate with this federal student aid website. So the FAFSA forecaster will help you, understand your options for paying for college. It's going to give you your expected family contribution number. All you'll need is your 2019 taxes. I'm trying to think, it's prior year. So if y'all are going to college starting in 2021, so you'll need your 2019 taxes. That applies to both the student if they worked in 2019, and the parents or parent or whoever has claimed you as a dependent on their tax form. So do that forecaster. It's going to give you a pretty close idea of what the federal government thinks you can afford. It's like the numbers they spit out, you're like, how do you think I can afford $18,000 a year? This is ridiculous. But no matter how much we disagree, there's very little we can do to change that. So we just need to know the number and plan accordingly. Like, okay, this is out of range. I just need to know that right now and readjust. So this process right here is going to be a lot of readjusting what is going to work for you, and how much you value being debt free. Maybe you don't think it's that big of a deal, and that's okay. I'm not going to judge anybody's values around money. But I just want you guys to know what those values are. And if it's really important to your family that you find some really cost-effective ways, you need these numbers, you just need the data. And so that brings us to the next point. After you do the forecaster, and you've already used Allison's tools of finding those schools, and you can use their net cost calculator that every college, I think they're now mandated by law to have a net cost calculator to give that bottom line number, so there's no hidden cost. You'll know exactly what that particular college is going to cost. The FAFSA forecaster will tell you, here's the grants you can expect. And meeting with your financial sponsors would be the next step. That would be parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, godparents, anybody that you think might help pay for college or be contributing, or maybe a parent or a grandparent has a 509, is it 50, the college savings, Oregon College Savings Plan. So having that meeting with the important person that's going to help you, let me talk you through that really quick. I have a little list here. I'm going to read off of this screen over here on how to open that really awkward conversation with, hey, mom and dad, do you plan to pay for college? And maybe they've already talked to you about it, or maybe they haven't. And it depends on your, family culture. Some families are really open and transparent about money, others are not. And so some of you, this may be harder than for others, but so what you should do is, before you go to that person that you're hoping that will help you with college, probably a parent or a guardian, do your own research before you even, and your budgeting before you just enter that conversation. And make sure there's some clear expectations. Don't be afraid to ask mom, dad, aunt, uncle, what do you plan to contribute? I know this is kind of awkward, and you don't want to make that person feel defensive or whatever, but trust me, I'm a parent. I've had these conversations with children, and I know it can get a little tricky when their heart is set on this really expensive college and you're like the dream shatterer. So this is not fun by any means. So I really want you thinking about it now, both parents and students, how to come together and have this really important conversation. And, have hard numbers, no grade requirements, talk about some ways that you can save money. Like, can I stay on your insurance plan, mom and dad, to get a, family discount or something? Talk about budgeting and how you're going to survive at college on a particular budget when maybe you haven't had a budget in your life up to this point. So there's just a lot to think about. And then the next step, after you have that conversation, now you know what college is going to kind of cost, what family, etc., is going to help you with. The third piece of this is applying for scholarships. And you actually can start right now on the scholarship search. And for some people, we consider this like a part-time job. It really becomes a part-time job in, like right now, really like a month or so ago, when OSAC was due. And you can actually start your OSAC application now. So if you click that link that you see right here, that goes directly to OSAC, where you can begin that application right now and start developing your profile and get that account set up. And you can't, submit it until next year. And I think they even make you port that information into the new application that opens each year, but it saves all of your data and it lets you start seeing what's out there, which can do some backwards planning for you. Like, oh, this scholarship requires this GPA or this activity. You can do that backwards plan. Oh, okay, I better really watch my grades. Mm-hmm. And it's really motivating because you have a little bit of time, actually, if you start looking at what scholarships are requiring right now versus next, fall, when you're actually filling them out, you can really improve your chances for getting some of these. And the other website, Oregon Goes to College, I don't think I have that linked here, and I just remember that. we put it in practically every other newsletter. And check out our blog, because I think we have a whole scholarship post where I think we reference that. I'll double check. But Oregon Goes to College has a great scholarship calendar, and it's just hundreds and hundreds of scholarships organized by the due date. And you can filter by keywords, and they're all pre-vetted for you it's actually a site run by Oregon State University. even though the scholarships, can apply all over the place. So those are two that thousands of scholarship sites, but really I don't get scammed by scholarship websites that make you pay money or that like guarantee a scholarship. Just really stick to the ones that you hear us talk about that are legitimate sites. And
if you're not sure, send it our way and say,
Totally.
Hey Jen, hey Allison, is this legit? What do you think? But I really like what you said about it being a part-time job. And that's really how we want to encourage you to think about it. Throwing just a wild number out at you. If you've talked to me before about scholarships, you've heard this number, and you've panicked alongside me because it makes me panic a little, but I'll brace you. 5 to 10 a week.
That took my breath away. I don't know about you.
Is what they recommend to get a decent chunk of college covered. 5 to 10 scholarship applications a week.
Starting when?
So by the time you're in your senior year, because that's when you have more available to you, you can start applying to scholarships now. There are plenty out there for people as young as 13. So you can absolutely find them. If you want some help finding them, let us know. But start what I would call your scholarship portfolio now. Like start working on your OSAC, because that's going to give you some essays to start writing out. And the more scholarships you apply to, just save everything you write, save everything you do, because you're going to start to see really similar prompts as you go along, and really similar info that you'll just have on hand and be able to type in real quick and not dig back through your records to figure out. So start working on that now. Maybe do like one a week, starting after spring break. And then, by the beginning of summer, you're doing 2 or 3. Work your way up to that 5 to 10 by your senior year.
Absolutely.
And it will get easier the longer you do it, because you'll have your templates ready to go. So I know it sounds like a scary number, like a big, crazy, oh my gosh, don't they know I'm a student with a job and a life? We do, we know. But it becomes a really well-paying part-time job if you do it well. So.
Right. Consider it as a job, because you will get the payoff. Just the same way I tell all of my children, their main job right now is to get good grades, because that equals money.
Yeah.
That equals literal money when they go to apply for college.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Can't stress that enough. So, okay.
Yeah. So you can do it. We believe in you. And we are here for you in any of the steps we've talked about tonight. So reach out to us. Let us know what you need, what support we can provide you, because it is a lot. And
the junior year is probably the biggest year. Senior year, not to take away from that, because that's cool too, but your junior year, where you guys are at right now, there's a lot on your plate. Like these to-dos here that she'll talk about in a second. There's a lot of specific things to do in your junior year.
Yeah. And you're not alone. We're here for you. Your ATs are here for you if you're in Webb Academy. Your advising counselors are here for you if you're in early college. So let us know what you need. That's what they pay us to do, right?
That's what we're here for.
So yeah, keep us busy. Let us support you. A couple to-dos before we jump into Q&A time. Since we have your attention, we want to remind you to sign up and take your SBAC. Those are happening, hopefully, in the next coming months. If COVID doesn't take over.
Yes, we should have, you've been scheduling these with your advisory teachers and counselors, and hopefully we'll be back up and running within another month.
Yes. So if you haven't signed up for those, sign up now. If we need to reschedule them with you, we will, but at least get your name on the list for now. You're going to meet with your advisors again in the spring. And before you do that, we encourage you to review your own transcript. Come to that advising meeting prepared with questions, what you want to work on with them. If you want to, talk about some classes to explore your interests, or figure out what kind of GPA goal you want to reach. Just review your transcripts, make sure you know what you want to get out of that advising meeting in the spring.
Absolutely.
And read our newsletter and our blog. We work hard on these things for you guys. Each week we share our favorite resources with you, info that we think is really important for you to know, to-do lists broken down by month. So if this all felt really overwhelming, you can take it 1 month at a time with our monthly newsletter.
Absolutely. We do a checklist for each grade level month by month. So that does help break it down a little bit.
Yeah. So we just want to encourage you in using those resources well to help you just take things one bite at a time. So thank you so much for sticking with us and just absorbing a lot of information tonight. If you have any questions, I'm going to go ahead and unmute everyone. And that way, if you want to chime in with something, you can. Except I'm going to mute so that I don't get feedback. Hopefully. So let us know.
You can also use, I think there's a little raise your hand button somewhere if you want to raise your hand and ask a question. Do you guys have access to a hand raiser? We can look for that. Does anyone have a question that wants to jump on the microphone? If so, ask away.
If not, that's fine too. You can email us. We have our email addresses listed down here. So we're happy to chat with you that way. Or like I said, you can schedule an appointment with us.
Please do. Please schedule an appointment with us. That would be,
yes.
We love one-on-one appointments. I will tell you, that's like the highlight of my day when I can sit with one student and, you know, go through our worksheet and get you all lined out so you know your deadlines and your to-dos. And so, you know, Allison covers a certain region of the state. I cover a certain region. So you'd be meeting with one or the other of us to talk about those specific college career goals. And yeah, there we go. Okay, I don't think we have any brave souls to use the microphone. No worries. Feel free to email either of us with any, anything in.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
So how important is it to take both the ACT and the SAT in the grand scheme of things?
So we would encourage you, unless you have some sort of extenuating personal circumstance that makes it a benefit to take both, we say focus on one. You only have a certain amount of time to study. And so really putting all those efforts into one test to make that score the best it can be is usually the best move.
I would agree with Allison. I have personal experience with kids who've done both and performed slightly better on one over the other, but the amount of time, cost, effort that you put into splitting SAT and ACT efforts in addition to your coursework, we don't really advise it, and it means literally nothing to colleges. As long as they get one or the other, that's all they're looking at. I hope that was a sufficient answer, Luke, but do a follow-up if you need, okay? Anybody else?
All right.
Cool.
Well, thanks for joining us, and let us know what you need. We are here for you. All right.
Thanks,
Have a good
guys.
night, everyone.
Take care.